The first time Simon saw Jake, he knew he was doomed. Jake had the effortless kind of attractiveness, the type that didn't need styling or effort. His tousle brown hair always looked perfect, his deep blue eyes carried a teasing glint, and his smile? Dangerous. Add that to the easy confidence in his walk, the lean muscles beneath his fitted shirts, and the fact that he was a genuinely good guy. Simon was screwed from the start. But Jake was straight. Worse, he had a girlfriend. Simon had accepted his fate, deciding he would simply exist beside Jake, swallowing every stolen glance and hidden desire. He would keep his secret, pretend to be the best damn roommate, and never let Jake suspect what really went on in his mind during those late nights when he lay awake, listening to Jake's steady breathing in the bunk across from him. Then everything changed one reckless night. Spin the bottle. It started as a stupid party game. Innocent fun, their group of friends packed into their tiny dorm room, drinks in hand. Someone had smuggled in a bottle of cheap vodka, and soon, the rules were clear. Spin the bottle, and you had to kiss whoever it landed on. Simon played along, dreading what might happen if the bottle turned against him, but he never expected fate to be so cruel. When it was his turn, he spun the bottle with a shaky hand. It whirled around in dizzying circles, his heart hammering as it began to slow. Click, click, the bottle stopped, pointing directly at Jake. The room exploded into laughter and cheers. Oh shit, someone hollered. This is gonna be good. Simon's stomach dropped. His face burned as he looked up at Jake, who was grinning in amusement. Come on, Simon. Pucker up, one of their friends teased. Simon forced a laugh, shaking his head. Nah, I'm good. Oh, don't chicken out. But Simon didn't want to do it. Not because he didn't want to kiss Jake, but because he wanted it too much. It was a mistake waiting to happen. Yet before he could protest further, Jake suddenly leaned forward. His hand gripped the back of Simon's neck. Simon barely had a second to react before Jake's thumb grazed his bottom lip, parting it just slightly. And then, Jake kissed him. It wasn't just a peck. Jake's lips were warm, firm, and unexpectedly slow, like he wasn't just going through the motions of a day. Simon's entire body locked up as Jake lingered, his breath hot against Simon's mouth. Their friends were cheering in the background, but it all became a blur. The only thing Simon could focus on was the intoxicating press of Jake's lips, the way his fingers dug into his skin, the way his heart felt like it might burst. And just as suddenly as it started, it was over. Jake pulled back like nothing had happened, flashing a grin at their friends. Happy now, he joked, wiping his lips playfully. Simon could barely breathe. The game moved on, and nobody spoke of it again. But everything had changed. The tension. In the days that followed, neither of them mentioned the kiss. But it was they, hanging between them, thick and unspoken. Their friends started teasing them relentlessly. Husbands, they'd call out whenever Simon and Jake walked together. Lovebirds, when they sat too close. Simon laughed it off, playing along, but inside, he was crumbling, because Jake wasn't acting weird. Jake wasn't flustered. Jake hadn't hesitated at all that night, and that made everything worse. Simon tried to convince himself it meant nothing. But then came the night everything spiraled out of control, the night that changed everything. It was late, past midnight. Jake was already asleep in his bunk while Simon lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He had tried everything to distract himself, but it was impossible. He was still thinking about that damn kiss. A sigh escaped him as he turned onto his side, facing Jake's bed. He hadn't expected Jake to be awake. But then, movement. Jake shifted beneath his covers, his breathing uneven. Simon barely had time to register what was happening before Jake sat up slightly, his silhouette visible in the moonlight. And then, Jake moved. Simon froze as Jake climbed out of his bunk and walked toward him. His breath caught. Jake? But Jake didn't answer. He knelt beside Simon's bed, his face unreadable. And before Simon could even think to question it, Jake reached out, fingers brushing over Simon's cheek. Simon's stomach clenched. He should stop this. He should say something. But he couldn't. He wouldn't. Jake leaned in. The first touch of his lips was slow, hesitant. Simon gasped softly, and that was all it took. Jake's hand slid to the back of Simon's head, fingers tangling in his hair. Their lips moved together, a slow, teasing dance of heat and longing. It was different from the first time. This wasn't a game, wasn't for anyone else. It was just them. Jake deepened the kiss, pushing Simon back against the bed. His weight settled over him, warmth radiating between their bodies. Simon's hands clutched at Jake's shirt, his mind spinning. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. But Jake kissed him like he had wanted it all along. And God help him, Simon never wanted him to stop. Aftermath. The next morning, Jake acted normal. No teasing. No jokes. Like it never happened. Simon was losing his mind. Was he imagining it? Had he read too much into it? But then, one night, as they lay in bed again, Jake suddenly whispered into the silence, "Simon." Simon swallowed. "Yeah." A long pause. Then Jake murmured, "I keep thinking about it." Simon's heart nearly stopped. Jake let out a frustrated breath, shifting under his covers. "I don't know what's wrong with me." Simon turned toward him, his pulse racing. "Maybe nothing's wrong with you," he whispered. A beat of silence. Then Jake moved again. And this time, there was no hesitation. Jake kissed him like he needed it. And Simon kissed him back like he'd been waiting for this his whole life. To be continued.